Previously voter approved from both you and the county.
The statute allows it as an exemption for school districts, but not for cities and counties.
Not when it's voter approved. Because you wouldn't have to do it otherwise.
So presumably we'll have to do it every year for the next 5 years.
Well, no, because it's only if you go over a percentage, isn't it?
Yeah, but that 10 cents is gonna be on there for.
Right, but it's included this year, but it shouldn't be 3% more next year than this year,
See, none of that.
right?
It's on your allowable growth, and that's how that's
We're doing
figured.
something wrong.
I think it will still throw us.
Oh, it's not just, so once you've done that hearing once.
It's like your taxable value from year to year, and then your allowable growth based off of your valuation increases. So I think that 10 cents is added on extra at the end,
So it's not just next year compared to this upcoming year.
because it's based on your valuation.
That's all right.
I think that's.
He said he was.
He
Said he was on the way.
So.
5 o'clock.
He's just coming past the window.
Aaron's tight ship, and it says 5. Showtime.
You gonna stay 5 minutes after tonight? Make up for that.
Well, okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 5:01. And we will start with the routine business. Open Meetings Act is posted on the northwest wall, as always. Read that if desired. Lisa, if you go ahead and call the roll.
Dustin?
Here.
Sean?
Here.
Brad?
Yes.
So it'll be a conversation next time.
Present and accounted for. Y'all join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. All right, first item on the agenda is budget and tax request hearings. So we will open public hearings for the 23-24 budget hearing. And we will also open the public hearing for the 2023 and 24 tax request. Simultaneously, those are going to be opened at 5:02. And we'll leave them, let them remain open for that. So how long do we have to do that? Okay, so Lisa's gonna go ahead and present the budget and tax request information.
Okay, so the biggest thing to note, I guess, of the budget this year when we drafted this, we have a couple of really big projects that are planned to take place in this next fiscal year. The North Main Street project, of course, we've been talking about that, where we got the paving grant, and that will be water and sewer replacements as well. That can start as early as November and should be finished up by June of '24, so all within this next fiscal year, starting in October. And then the Highway 7 Main Street, the south main portion, is also slated to potentially start in March of '24, ending in November. So pretty much that entire project potentially also could fall into this fiscal year. So when we put together the budget, I'm sure the first thing everybody is going to see is, the 2022 operating budget was $6,679,235. The proposed 23-24 budget is $12,075,821. And that difference in budgeted expenditures is based off of those projects. The water sewer project alone was about $3.5 million. The downtown revitalization project is around $2 million. So that in and of itself is gonna take a pretty big chunk of change, you know. In terms of budget, we do have the SRF loans to secure the water and sewer portion of that already in place. Those, we don't have that revenue received yet. It's a draw, kind of like a line of credit. So that revenue will come in as we're making those expenditures. So, you know, we kind of have those things accounted for in the budget. But that's primarily the largest discrepancy. When the council met in workshops, we did leave the tax levy the same. That's the proposal, is that it would be 45 cents per $100 evaluation. That's what it's been for the last several years. The city's valuation did increase from 95 million and change last year to 100 million. It was a 5% increase based off of, you know, new construction and renovations and just changes from the county assessor on property valuations overall. But the biggest increase, as you'll notice on the tax asking as well, will include the special levy that was passed by the voters, which is the 10 cents per $100 valuation that is earmarked for the operation of the care center. So the tax request based off of the city's valuation that will go towards the general operations of the city would be $450,000, $450,096.50. And then that special levy, that 10-cent levy, is slated to produce $100,021.50. So the combined total tax request then is $550,118, which is a bit of an increase because of that special levy.
Lisa, the 45-cent general levy, and then you've got the 5 cents for interlocals. You could still go to 50 on the general levy with the 5 cents of interlocals, because the 5 cents, is that your max on interlocals?
Yep.
Because that gives you a little bit more leeway. You're not at your max with the 45 and 5 making your 50 total.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only other question I had was on the 2023-24 budget, be page 2, property tax recap. There's a line item on federal receipts that are anticipated at 4.53 million. I assume that's the loan and grant, both the combination of loans and grants for the
Yep.
for the 2 projects you talked about.
The 2 SRF loans, there's one for the
Those
water.
count in there as federal funds, even if
Yeah.
they're loans. Okay.
And then the CDBG grant that we've already
Right.
awarded, but we haven't expended or received it, so that will all happen, and that was 433,000. And then, of course, the DTR grant, if we are to be awarded, that would be an additional $435,000.
I just didn't know.
We
if
have
the-
budgeted to receive it.
Right, I didn't know if the 4.53 million included the loan funds as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, really, in terms of budget, and then the council, I guess, can speak to it as well if they would like to. We really don't have any other large projects planned this coming fiscal year. We talked about a potential parks project. So there is some money put into that if we can get something done, but that would be if also we could get grant funds awarded. So we put it in there as hoping that's a possibility. Of course, if it doesn't happen that way, it doesn't harm the city to have that in there, but otherwise it's kind of status quo, maintenance of operations and general operating as usual, aside from those larger projects.
The only other thing, your cash reserve has been fluttering around about 4.5 million, and you've got it projected at 2.1. Is that basically you're gonna use up some of your reserve to help toward these projects, or you got loans or grants for the entire amount, didn't you?
Yeah. And
I just wondered on the cash reserve why, the last couple of years it was 4.5 million, you're projecting 2.1.
And some of that could be estimated actual versus budget. When we budget, we budget a lot to spend dollars that we aren't necessarily
Okay,
going to spend.
gotcha, and I couldn't remember what your
So a lot of
estimated cash
times,
reserve
the
had been.
budgeted reserve is a lot lower than the actual,
Okay.
at the end of the year,
Right.
actual reserve, because like our our sales tax funds and all of those funds, LB 840
Yeah,
debt
you're
service.
budgeting to
we
spend
budget
it
to
all.
spend the whole thing,
Gotcha.
even though we're not probably going to do that. That would not be in our best interest anyway.
I didn't have anything else on budget. Anybody else does?
Any councilmen have any comments? Y'all went through the workshops with Lisa, went through stuff. Anybody here from a public agency or private organization want to testify or say anything? Any individuals?
Yeah, the only other comment that I would make, just for full disclosure, everybody will be getting a postcard, but the city will be participating in the joint public hearing that will happen on September 18th at 6 o'clock in the Learning Center. It's a new statutory requirement for state legislatures attempt to try to, I guess, make things as transparent to the citizens as possible. So we will be participating in that. It allows you a 2% growth. If you exceed that, you have to basically attend this hearing and describe why you're asking for more than the 2% growth.
So that's your only requirement, is you have to kind of present
We just present what we're asking and what the difference is.
and why you're asking for it, and then field any questions, I
Pretty
see.
much allows people to get
That's
comment.
the only thing that these are,
Yep. And I'm not sure who else is attending.
the county
I think
has
the
gotta
county.
do it, but Northeast Community College is the other one for us, and they're doing theirs in Norfolk on a different day.
Yep.
What's
They're
2% of 35 million?
Yeah, more than 2% of 35 million.
Yeah.
So,
For Northeast?
Oh, but they leave their levy rate, they always send you that
Yeah.
press release, oh, we left our levy rate the same. Yes, at 9.95 cents and your max is 10. Yeah, good job leaving your levy rate,
so
even
yes.
though valuation went up 20%.
So every landowner, I guess, in the city of Eansburg, and probably Brown County then for that matter, will be receiving a postcard inviting you to attend this hearing.
So probably get two separate ones then if you're in the.
Yep, and if you own more than one parcel, I think you get a postcard for every parcel, so.
Every parcel?
You might get several.
And are you guys required to pay the postage on that then?
Actually, the county is, the county kind of got.
The county has to pay all the postage then for that. I'm sure the legislature's kicking in for that like they. Yes.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a poll over the Nebraska City Managers Group yesterday about how many cities across the state were having to participate in the joint public hearing this year. And I think out of the 30 respondents to the email, 15 of the 30 were having to participate for one reason or another. So 2%'s tough, you know, when you've got the environment the way that it is right now too. So if you got any project or anything happening, you're gonna be over that 2% probably. But anyway, that's just a fun tidbit, I guess.
Any other public comments on the budget request, tax request? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing at 5:13. And we will move on to other business. Next item is the consent agenda, as always. You can approve all items in one motion or consider them separately.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Call roll.
Sean?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Next item is mayor's appointments and reports. Don't think I have anything to report on, that we won't be getting later in the meeting. So we'll move on to appointments. As you all know, Vance Heyer moved out of the city limits, so he has resigned his position, and I'm recommending that Kent Taylor fill the remainder of Vance's term, which runs through November 30th, 2024, or is that? It's not December 31st, that's November 30th.
Well, actually, upon election, it's the first meeting in December usually that the new council members or the elected officials take their oaths. So
Okay.
it's
You
kind
guys
of-
are different from the county because theirs is January.
Mhm.
And you're replacing a council member who resigned to move out of town with a council member who once formally resigned to move out of town.
Kent has expressed interest in it, and he's experienced, he's been on the council before, so I think that would be very helpful. So that's my recommendation.
I'll make a motion to accept the mayor's appointment of Kent Taylor to fill the remaining council spot for advanced hire, term ending first meeting in December of 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. So do we do the
Both of them. Yep,
swearing in now?
sure.
Oath of office sounds better than swearing in,
Come
I
up.
guess.
Swear at him.
You have to do the swearing in before you can do the swearing out.
That's right.
Do you have this in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We're going to stand.
If you want to stand for that.
By the flag.
Oh, no. Okay.
I, Kent Taylor,
I, Kent Taylor,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or for purpose of evasion,
or for purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate,
And I do further swear that I do not advocate,
nor am I a member of any political party or organization
nor am I a member of any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
or of this state by force or violence,
or of this state by force or violence,
and that during such time as I am in this position,
and that during such time as I am in this position,
I will not advocate nor become a member of
I will not advocate nor become a member of
any political party or organization
any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States
or of this state by force or violence,
or of this state by force or violence,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Kent. Welcome aboard.
I had to read all that.
Sign.
I had to say,
We must have all done it.
I did it.
Except I didn't have anything to read off. I had to try to remember what Lisa was telling me. That was way tougher.
Like I said, the last time we did it has a little more meaning after
Exactly.
January 6th. All right, moving right along to old business. First item is to discuss and consider recommendations from the park board. I see Brian's here to.
Yeah, I think Cody was here last time going over a few things and there was a few questions. So I printed off a few
Thank you.
pieces from the Google Earth on kind of the setup that we're wanting to do out there. The first three are gonna be in the red, that's gonna be the shot put area. And then the back three is yellow for like the discus area. You guys want a copy?
Yeah, thank you.
So what we're asking basically of the city is to, as you can see right there at that point where the shot put is down there by the track, is to eliminate that turnaround. I mean, it is a turnaround on how much it's used, but to eliminate that turnaround and then put a shot put ring there. And then if you go to the back side, the back copies, you'll see three different directions that we can throw the discus depending on the wind, because you want to throw that into the wind, that sport or that event. So that's the reason we're doing that, and then we've, on the park board, worked with T-ballers and people like that, trying to figure out what we were gonna do to keep that field and use it as multi-purpose. And one of the reasons to do that is for safety, as you guys know, where the current one is down here on the, like where the football practice field is. So there's cars back and forth, so kids, if they're doing, say, high jump, and then they're coming to do shot or disc, they're sprinting across, sometimes not paying attention, and we can't successfully rope that off or fence that area off where the football field is now due to it being a football practice field, so we're not running into chain link fences, so that's another good area to have it on the east end down by there. And then, like I said, it keeps everything together, so say you're a pole vaulter, high jumper, long jumper, shot and discus thrower, you're all right in one area. We would open up the fence down there and work that whole area that way. So, like I said, the main ask is of the city to eliminate the turnaround, and then Mr. Hafer with the school would like to have a conversation with the track coach, and then I don't know if we have to be involved. I can be, I guess, since I help out at the school some, but at that point, I guess that's kind of what we're asking of the city, unless you guys have other questions of anything there.
How many track meets are scheduled for the track?
So we have
this kind of a
we have
process?
the opening one, we have the middle school one, and then every so many years we have the Southwest Conference one. And then there's always potential getting put in for the bid for a district meet, whether it's usually not ours, but like a Class B meet or something could potentially be in on it, so.
When you have football games, isn't that where kind of the visiting team bus kind of?
So what
parks
they
in there?
do,
How would you do
they actually
that?
drive in, drop the kids off at that crow's nest, and then they back up and park back more towards the restroom area along the baseball fence line. That's kind of where they are.
So do you put 3 rings out for
You-
each wind direction? I mean, there's a.
Not on this is just for the shot put, it's just gonna be one, we just have to decide which way is gonna be best
Oh, okay.
for the safety of people walking in
So
and
you
out.
just put one, those are 3 options.
That's 3 options.
And
That,
what
we
about-
would actually on the discus ring would be 3 different
You'd have a ring
directions.
there, you'd have a ring there, and
Correct.
you'd have a.
Yep.
So you built 3 permanent ones, that was my.
Yeah, and so it's just the pads basically is what it's gonna amount to, and then we're going to talk to the school about buying a portable cage, the netting or whatever that goes around it, so then whichever one you're at, you can go ahead and do it. And another good thing about it is when you're warming up for disc, you've got multiple spots, you're not gonna throw anything clear to the other end, so kids could actually warm up in that area, say on the one end opposite. You're not doing full throws when you do that, you're just popping them out there 30, 40 feet.
So where would you be fencing this off at?
So, right out, like, so there's a big fence, a big gate, like right here. We'd like to keep that because for purposes of coming in, leveling it, I don't know how much you guys have been out here, but there's a huge hump out here. So we talked to like Sherm about maybe coming in with a leveler and getting this whole area back to level, because it is dug down pretty good. So just keeping that fence, so just, I would say,
Straight off that field.
in there, right in that area, so we can stay our distance away. And then this gate over here, we would open it up. the back
So
of
does
it.
that eliminate this ball field? They'll
No.
still use it?
Yes.
Because I just wanted the pad on this one, looks
So-
like it's right at home plate.
So what we were gonna do on that is move whole plate, like 20 feet
So it'll
further.
be behind it.
It would be behind
Your
home
pad
plate.
would be.
Yes,
They got plenty of room for a T-ball.
Yes.
You're
correct.
not-
I think your question was, are we gonna keep it a dirt field or grass type of
I
deal?
mean, my main concern was that I didn't want to lose the field. I met with Cody and
Clint, out there
Clint
yesterday.
yesterday, and we're not losing the field.
Right.
Me personally, I prefer it stay dirt, but that doesn't work well with the discus, I guess.
I mean, it can, or can, I mean, it doesn't really.
I mean, that way, if you're throwing that way, typically I would assume that your discus would go past the dirt. on that
Well, it's
small
just
one.
where it hits.
Right, where it hits.
So it wouldn't matter if it's dirt or grass, to be honest with you.
I mean, as long as it's not losing the field.
Yeah.
that
And I would,
way-
you know, JC'd be the one to ask a little bit of it. I mean, which would you, I mean, dirt would dirt be better to maintain? Because in my opinion, and what I'm gonna ask of the school, if this goes correctly, is as Joey mows and takes care of the practice field, maybe he helps take care of that portion as well, since it's gonna be partially a school, if it's something that you can't handle on the park side. Just trying to get along with everybody here a little bit. So, what would you suggest, dirt, grass, I mean, what's?
I guess that's up to you guys. I mean, I've seen both, you know, used in both
I mean,
areas.
the good thing about it is this is a T-ball field, so, I mean, grass is probably just as good as dirt, because some of those kids are playing in the grass or dirt instead of watching what's going on most of the time at that level anyway. So probably catching one from a grass is better than catching one from dirt. It's not coming in as hot, but anyway.
Then, yeah, you kind of answered my question a little bit with like who's gonna help maintain all this? Because right now, the fields are full sanders.
Right. And we've talked about going in there with Sherman in another discussion with the park board and going in there and just basically taking his scraper and taking all that off and starting over, whether we put in new dirt to make it dirt or we just go in there and seed it with grass, so,
And then the shot put area,
yeah.
who's gonna maintain that?
Well, that would be the school.
Like year round kind of, because I don't
Well, I
want it to be like
suppose,
growing up with weeds
Yeah,
until it's track
absolutely.
season and then all of a sudden you're gonna go out there and cut all the weeds.
no, that would be something I would definitely discuss with the school. That'd be their deal. And like I said, everything depends on whether you are good with eliminating turnaround. If you're good with eliminating turnaround, then we're gonna go to the school and talk about all that. But really, there's not gonna be any responsibility at all of the city other than JC's working out there.
From talking to Cody and Clint yesterday, they were also proposing leaving a big gate there.
Correct. The big gate that's there leaving it.
No, but also leaving the gate going into the,
Oh, to the track?
no, into the
Shot put?
shot put area.
Yes.
So that way if there was a need for bleachers, for the T-ball or anything, we could drag those bleachers in there still as used, right?
Correct.
Plus you'll be able to get your equipment in and out of there easier.
Yep.
So it isn't like it's completely closed off. I mean, you
Just-
obviously don't want people turning around and parking in there,
Right.
but they'll still be able to,
Because it's gonna be a little bit different surface in there, so we are gonna bring in a little bit different kind. It's not just gonna be the rock, gravel, dirt in the shot put area. It's actual, I don't know, Todd, what is it called? Do you know what the name of it is?
And similar to the material that's used in your infield.
So it's like, I don't know what that is, what it's called, but anyway, that's the, I don't know how many of you have been to different track meets, but Gothenburg has a setup like that. Most college places have setups like that where it's almost like a red kitty litter. kind of
So there's no grass in the shot.
but you're not, my point is you're not completely closing it off to never.
We'll be able to have access for bleachers for the T-ball field.
Or if we,
Or whatever.
people could go sit in there and watch their team, set up lawn chairs, no big deal, right?
So I guess I'm wondering, it sounds to me like really the use isn't necessarily city use, it's more for football games for the visiting teams, so.
I figure there's probably I'd say between 5 and 6 parking spots there that you could eliminate if, people are actually parking there watching.
For football games?
Correct.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, to me, it's almost more of a, well, what does the school wanna do? Because they're the ones hosting the other schools and providing
Right.
places for.
And yeah, that's what
games.
we just wanted to speak with the city council to say, are you good with shutting that off and no longer having it as a turnaround? And then we would move along with the process and see, and then we may go to the school and they say, no, we are not interested, and then it's over, then we're back where we are, so. I think, so that was just our main thing from the park board and from the coaches at the school was just, are you good as a city to eliminate the turnaround?
That was my biggest concern was the buses, because that's where, you see buses come in there for football games and, I get, sometimes these schools bring 2 buses and stuff and trying to get buses in there and having them back out would be, to me, the danger would be, but if they're doing it ahead of time before it gets really congested in there.
I think the problem they're running into now is buses are so big that they're not gonna make that turnaround anyway.
I don't think they could. I don't know of those
They're
bigger
just-
buses now could,
They
it'd
just-
be a short yellow bus to even.
So they just pull up, drop their kids off, and then they back up over by the, towards the dugout over there. So, anyway, any questions?
And they could potentially unload the buses in other spots, right?
For sure.
I mean,
You know,
I mean, that's where they end the field at, but yeah. whatever it is.
I think anything that's gonna improve it, as long as it's upkept and not a sandber patch, I'm for it.
Yeah, I agree too. That's a good idea.
Okay. Any other questions?
so we probably don't need to take any action. I mean, leave it up, see what the school wants to do.
I mean, if you want me to report back what I find from the school, I sure can, or if you just want me to, I mean, as long as everybody's-
There's a motion, we'd have an official stand on what the city's doing.
I mean, if you guys want a motion to close that off on our ask, that would be probably good to have, then we have that in stone, and then I could go there and then give us a no-go, and if they're not interested. But I have a feeling between the booster club and the school, I think it's.
So the motion would be for to close that off and to allow,
Well, the,
I almost would like to see the motion be that we're willing to cooperate with changes there that the school would like to implement, or something like that. I mean, whatever they wanna do, if you're not against it.
I'm not, I don't, so I could see, I can feel for Mr. Delmont's position, I don't wanna come here and we don't make an official stand and go to the school and says, yeah, we'll go with it, and it comes back here and we tell him no.
Well, I guess where I'm coming from is, if we say, oh yeah, we wanna close this off, that's like, we're telling the school, yeah, we wanna close it off, and we really don't care. To me, I feel like it's a school decision. You see what I'm saying? It's like.
Is this something that's gonna like, I mean, this is gonna happen like within a year or less? I mean, I don't wanna do something and 5 years down the road, you finally decide to do it.
No, I think we'll move on as soon as we can. I don't know if it'll happen like right now, but
No,
it
I'm
might
not
be,
saying right
it might
now,
be
but-
spring. That's what I'm gonna suggest is spring.
maybe a motion that says if the school is willing to assume the project, the upkeep, maintenance, any cost, or, if the school is willing to move forward with the project, that we would support it, if that's your decision. Then you have something.
I think I'm okay with the project, it's come to thought though, almost do we need measurements in case they, or is it getting too picky about how far they're coming from where, and maybe that's too much.
Well, there's a big gate there that they said they weren't gonna go past.
So they're gonna stay on the east side of that big gate.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said.
So I just do, yeah, that's the plan, and I think we can show that shot put anyway, I'll just give you guys different options of where the footages kind of fit in there. We could definitely set that up to where, we're gonna be well inside that big gate.
And it looks like it in your drawings, it does look like you guys are staying inside that gate.
We're not, there won't be more than 100 feet out from whatever location we are, just because the distance, or the shot put doesn't need too much. You don't see people throwing too much more, or, the big dogs are throwing 65s, so we generally don't have too many of those here. So, I can get you more measurements, if you wanna do some motion, like you said, as far as the project goes, if you're good with doing whatever, and then if you want us to come back with actual measurements later, we can.
I hate to be particular, but I'm thinking back to the building that went up out there, that when the council approved that at the request of the school and or booster club, doesn't matter who, I have to look back, it was kind of just a blanket thing. It's like, oh yeah, we want to see that, but what they brought that day is not at all what is there now. So I would caution you that you might want to approve a final plan rather than a concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could have a motion on the table that we know that we're good to go there, and then if there's something in that stating that we come back with a final drawing for approval, I mean, we could do that for sure.
Final plan and drawing?
Yeah,
That's not a building, that's a carport.
What's that?
I said, that's not a building, that's a carport.
it's a double-decker car.
Well, but that's,
If
see,
they
that's
come,
not
if they
what,
come to you with a building plan, that's not a building.
But if you guys would wanna do that, then we could come back with a final drawing proposal for approval.
I think that seems pretty reasonable to me. If somebody can word it.
You tell me how to word it, I'll word it. How do you want it to say?
Do you want to support the concept and then, but
I'll try to make a motion here. I'll make a motion to approve the park board's request, closing off their turnaround on the southeast corner of the football field so they can design a shot put field there. How do I fix that? Pending,
final plans?
yeah, pending final plans.
Final design plans?
Final design
I don't
plans.
say anything about the discus.
Well, we're just closing that off, and that's, I guess, our concern, and
Is that, yeah, does that
Other
include
than
the
we're
discus?
gonna include cement pads and stuff over in that warehouse area.
Does that include the discus also?
I just closed it off turnaround. So maybe maybe nobody wants to second it, we have to redo it.
Or is that another motion, the discus one?
I think, to me, that's almost a separate issue because that's easy for us to approve
Okay,
if
well, I'll
the school
second
wants to do
Brad's
that.
motion on the turnaround.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
To be willing to, more or less be willing to close off the turnaround.
To close out turnaround pending final plans or whatever.
Final design.
Final design plans, whatever.
Everybody understand that? We support it pending final design plan.
Yes.
Any other discussion? That sound good, Brian?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent.
You gotta add the
Don't-
name.
Don't forget the new guy.
Motion carried unanimously. Yeah, that, to me, potentially, the discus thing is a little different deal. That's not affecting traffic, that's just,
But I'd like to see more plans on that as well, just because of where home plate's gonna be and how the grass is gonna be, and, you know, you can't really play T-ball on grass and keep it dirt. I would like to me, that's more, seeing the actual plan on that, and how, because trying to keep a discus field and a T-ball field together, I'd like to see how that's gonna turn out.
So you're gonna make the same motion, but that would be the T-ball pit or the discus?
I think we can just wait on that one.
That's what I was thinking too.
I think we table that one. And they can bring back plans for both.
Because the major one's taken care of.
The major one's taken care of.
Okay.
sounds like, I think they most part, they support, or, you know, they support the concept, but
We'll move forward with it and then get you what we can get you for plans.
Even if we have to have a little meeting out there,
Absolutely.
map it out for us.
Yep, we can do it.
all right, thanks, guys. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider the community survey results. We had a, I'll read cash out recess?
Well, so
Thanks, JC, for coming.
it's a rather large document in and of itself. You know, this is no different than a lot of the other surveys that we've done within the last year or two, and really kind of mimics a lot of the other feedback that we've gotten through various avenues. But the overall summary, I think, of the survey was that the focus from the community was on housing, sidewalks, both commercial and residential, and entertainment.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Todd.
Entertainment for all ages, from kids to older adults, and childcare. So housing was the number one. It was 40% of responses that people thought that housing was a very important thing for the city to focus on. Downtown revitalization, 50% of the respondents had said that that was something they wanted the city to look at, that it was only in fair appearance and condition, and that we should do better. There was quite a few responses, over 100 responses about childcare. Of course, we know the daycare project is in full swing, so that's good. After-school care was another issue for people, and just daycare in general. So hopefully that's going to be addressed soon. Over 70% of the participants of the survey indicated that they would attend town hall to discuss things further, so that's promising, that people are willing to want to participate, and that they're interested in the projects that we're doing. So, you know, the surveys in general, there was about 160 respondents, I think, in total. Some questions were skipped by some people, but again, housing, community improvements, economic development, the daycare, downtown revitalization, sidewalks, youth programs, recreational activities. Those were the biggest things. There was quite a focus in the survey on housing, you know, various breakouts in terms of, you know, rent prices, or are you buying, or are you renting, or it was kind of a mixed bag, I would say, in that regard. But at the end of the day, the comments kind of skewed towards it's hard to find good housing, affordable housing. So these are all things I think that, you know, as council or city, you know, we've been talking about all of these things. So it's, I guess in some ways it's good that it just shows us that we're on the right track in terms of our priorities.
No big surprises.
No big surprises, yeah. And a lot of it is really good feedback to know at least that the things that we're talking about here, the things that we're budgeting for, or, you know, that aligns with a lot of what people, at least the people that are responding, what they're thinking about as well.
So I had a question about that. Remind me again, how did you advertise this?
So this was just an online survey.
Through Facebook or?
Through Facebook, and then there was a advertisement that ran in the newspaper with a QR code. It was a Survey Monkey.
I was pleasantly surprised that a lot of the respondents were young families with children. Which,
Did you see the struggle the most in this town? As far as like coming into this town and trying to find a place to live, you know? That's what, I mean, trying to hire a young family and bring them into this town is extremely difficult to find a place to live. I mean, they wanna come here, you just, the houses aren't existing.
So yeah, I don't know that there was any surprises in here. There were some good comments, some positive feedback, of course, you know, some negative feedback as well in terms of, you know, things we can do better. But but again, I think a lot of those comments too were not things that we're not aware of, so I'm trying to work towards.
One of the anonymous comments was about the mayor, wanted to know if it was full-time, but I couldn't tell if he was asking whether the mayor worked a full-time job or they expected the mayor to be a full-time position. And the answer to both is no, of course. But anyway, there was, yeah.
Maybe they want to run for mayor.
Comments are, they can be valuable, but when they're anonymous, they can take them for what they're worth.
Yeah. But yeah, there was, I thought it was nice to see that a lot of people did take the time. 156 out of, that's not quite 10% of our population, so that, it's not great, but as far as surveys go.
That's pretty good for
it's,
surveys.
Not bad. So, especially for having to do an online survey that, and it's always nice to have some feedback that kind of helps you know whether or not you're working, your goals are in line with what the rest of the community is thinking as well. So I think that's helpful sometimes to hear that.
All right, unless somebody has questions, we will move on to the regular agenda. First item of consideration is council reorganization and nomination of council president. Vance was your council president, and since he had to resign, you're without a president now, and you need to nominate somebody.
I'll make a motion to nominate Dustin. Yes.
I have to accept it?
I don't know, do you?
It's your option.
It's not responsible.
That means if Joel gets hit by a golf ball, you're the mayor.
The guys I play with, that's a real possibility.
No, none of us wear an Angus suit, and you don't either. Joe, only cows are in danger when you're golfing.
Whatever.
There you
Don't
go,
expect
whatever.
much out of it.
Will you accept it?
Sure.
I'll second.
Motion
That's a lot of meetings. That's a lot of meetings. I just.
and a second.
did a lot of meetings.
I assume we have to vote on it. Any other nominations? Now's your chance, Dustin.
I wasn't really expecting this, but I guess.
Hearing none, I guess we will vote. Is it a roll call vote on? Okay, yeah. Got a motion and a second for Dustin to be the council president. Lisa, go ahead and call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
Something I can remember.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Motion carried to 3 votes yea and 1 abstention. 3-0. Thanks, Dustin.
Huh.
I'll try not to die.
You can't miss a meeting, you can't die. Oh, and you're not moving out of town either.
Well, no, all right. Next item is to consider approval ordinance number 1559 and adopt the 2023-24 budget. So since we've had our budget hearings, we can move forward with adoption of the budget. Do they have to read? Do we know?
you do have to read the title, whoever wants to make said motion.
Anybody want to make that motion?
You want to do
Council President.
That looks long.
President needs some
No,
practice.
no.
Yeah.
Vance always did that.
Yeah.
Vance was your reader.
Just the title.
I'll make a motion to
Keep your glasses.
accept the ordinance to adopt the budget statement to be termed the annual appropriations bill to appropriate sums for necessary expenses and liabilities to repeal inconsistent ordinances and to require publication in pamphlet form. And to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Those are a lot of big words.
Motion
Give me
and a
warning.
second to approve ordinance number 1559. Any other discussion? Go ahead, call the roll.
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-0. Next is to consider resolution number 23-06 to set the 23-24 tax request.
So yeah, as kind of we overviewed in the budget, the tax request is $550,118. This is, differs from last year's assessed value by 5.26%. If we would have levied the same dollar amount as last year, the property valuation, or excuse me, the tax request would have been 42.7 and change cents per $100 valuation. So that's an increase of 55 cents. And the total operating budget of the city increases by almost 81%. And again, that goes back to those very large Highway 7 projects, Main Street projects.
So we have a resolution has to be read, huh?
I kind of read it.
You read it pretty much? So we could, if somebody wanted to move to approve resolution 2306 as read, I think that's acceptable.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 23-06 to, as read, to set the 2023-24 tax request.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes.
All right, we're rolling through this budget stuff. Next is to consider an approval of an increase of total restricted funds by an additional 1%.
So this is something that municipalities are allowed to do by state statute. The 1% authority, basically that's what it's doing. It's giving this body the authority, should something disastrous or horrific happen that's not anticipated, you know, if we get hit by floods or tornadoes or something crazy that we're not expecting, that we have the authority to react to that without having to necessarily kind of jump through those long due process hoops of amending the budget and going through all the public hearings and things that you might not have time, you know, that's maybe harming the community. It's kind of a cushion, if you will, that gives the body the authority to react quickly if need be. The other added advantage of doing this is that your restricted funds authority really plays into your lid calculation, and you're basically adding a 1% scale. By doing this, you're adding that 1% scale, which kind of builds that lid restriction cushion as well. And so the city has done that for years, and unlike a lot of other cities, we're in a position where our restricted funds authority isn't capping our ability to do capital projects. So there's more than one advantage, I think, to passing it. You do have to have a 2/3 majority vote to pass that 1%. Of course, if nothing happens, there's no reason to spend that, we do not spend that. It's just for the what ifs, just to be proactive in your planning, I suppose.
So is this a result of new legislation, or did you always do this?
This has been in place for quite a long time.
Okay. And the schools did a very similar thing.
I would say probably, I think schools,
They all-
counties.
Kind of
Hey,
Just helps with your budget, your taxing authority, it's money
all
that you
tax
could
authorities
tax
are.
but don't.
Okay.
It just provides some flexibility.
Gives you some
In case.
flexibility, yeah. In more than one way, if you will.
do you have wording you need?
I think just that, if somebody wants to, would like to move to, increase our total restricted funds by the additional 1%.
Okay, I move that we increase our total restricted funds by an additional 1%.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call roll.
Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Sean?
Motion carried unanimously.
While we're still on tax, budget and stuff, I would ask the council if they would take the remaining of the fire department budget that they have left and, like we've done in the past, and put it in a sinking fund. The remaining fire department budget. And put it in a sinking fund. What we've done there is unspent monies that we haven't spent, we put that in a sinking fund to keep our sinking fund growing, so eventually we can replace our city equipment with that fund. And we've done that in the past.
So basically what he's saying is, as of the close of the fiscal year, September 30, whatever unused budget authority within the fire department's allocation from this current fiscal year, that would just be dumped into the sinking fund dollar amount. So it's just reallocating that cash back.
It would otherwise just go to the general
General
fund.
fund.
Did you guys have a special meeting at the end of the month? Do you guys have a special meeting at the end of the month to close out your fiscal year? Would that be just something to put on it that day as just a motionable deal, or?
What kind of money is that?
Oh, it's, I was
28,000.
gonna say anywhere between 16 and 20, depending on the year.
The money that we obviously didn't use or spend, that we're gonna put in.
And what we do on the fire department, some of that stuff that the city might be responsible buying and stuff like that, the fire department uses their own money to buy it. What we're trying to do is get our sinking fund to grow bigger, so, but interest and cost of equipment's growing faster than what our sinking fund is. A new truck right now is $450,000 to $500,000, and I think we have like 140,000 or less in our sinking fund.
And
Do you
typically,
use out of your sinking fund?
What's that?
Do you use out of your sinking fund, or you're just strictly saving?
We're just trying to save that for replacement of our 1994 city pumper.
I'd say it, I mean, CDs are at a really alarmingly high rate right now. I don't know if you could put some in that.
We can't take this, I don't think, take the cities.
You can't take the money out of your sinking fund?
That's
and put it-
through property, that money is property of the city. It's not our money until we request it. The cities, it's in the city's coffers, so we can't.
Do you ever coordinate that, Lisa, and use CDs and things like that for those types of funds? Like, I know we've got, NCDC, we've got a couple of pool accounts that we had done fundraisers for, and if they ever move forward on a new pool, well, we're trying to manage that and take advantage of, you guys set up those CD rates and get decent percentage returns on.
we have a number of CDs. We have some general CDs, we have water sewer CDs, park pool, pretty much every department we have. I think there is actually a fire CD.
Equipment CD.
For various reasons that those were created.
I mean, I don't know if the offer CDs kind
If
of.
the city
rates and all that
wanted
kind of
to, instead of putting it in the sinking fund, to add to the existing fire CD or open a new CD and try to combine them something, I would say that would need to be done probably either at the end of September or even better yet, maybe at the first meeting in October, when we actually know, what exactly.
How much money's left there?
So you have a CD you could add it to?
Well, I don't know what the maturity date on that is. There's penalties if you cash it out early, but what we do with the pool fund, ABC gives $30,000 a year. We usually just take out a new issue CD on that and try to time the maturity date of that one with whatever the maturity date of the bigger one is, so that we can combine them at that time.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, like, it's like 5% right now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're gonna put 100,000, couple 100,000 into 5% CD.
So
Depending on
then,
how long we've, I don't know, everybody's dates are different.
And, you know, if, say, for example, we come close to having enough time or enough money to even order a truck, you're ordering a truck's probably a year and a half out anyway, by the time you order one. So you have time to cash that CD out on any penalties, if that ever came to that.
Hopefully they're not, the cash out point is not too long, you know, I don't know if you can do it 9 months or a year or 18 months, I don't know what.
Two local ones are 7 and 9 months.
Yeah, I've seen
Most
that.
of them won't give you the 5% more than a year. They won't pay you that
Like, if
interest
you
if
go
you do a.
5% for 9 months. That's gonna build your,
I would say if that's what you're thinking you'd rather do, let's just wait then and put that as an agenda item for October.
Okay.
I would rather,
And we'll try to have an exact dollar amount that, you know, we can.
I'm gonna go out for Brad's recommendation at that point.
The other thing, Lisa, you'll wanna look at if you're looking at those, you know, we talked about, well, if you cash them in earlier, you'll lose a little bit of
Sometimes you
interest.
lose
Problem
less than
is,
what you bring in.
well, the problem is if you've got like a CD you took out 3 years ago, but it's a long-term CD, the interest you lose, you lose it because you're gonna make way more with what the rates are currently. I cashed in a couple longer-term ones for a young one's college fund that were making 1%, and cashed them and took that penalty to reinvest them
5%?
yeah.
We've done that with other things with the pool and stuff, trying to finagle the best interest rate. Sometimes the penalty is less than what you would gain in the
Right,
interest.
that's what it is most, I mean, you lose a little bit of the interest.
So yeah,
compared to-
we're well versed with that, if that's what you wanna do.
I'll table my request until next meeting.
Okay, very good.
We'll pretend we never said.
Okay.
I'll make a note though, so I don't forget to have it on the October
Put it next to Pap's
agenda. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next item then is to discuss and consider resolution number 23-07, amending the city of Ainsworth fee schedule. There's quite a few on there, but is it primarily the cemetery
Yeah, I don't
fees?
know that, I don't think we need to go through all of, a lot of this is the same. I mean, as I mentioned to you guys prior, conversation, I added under miscellaneous fees, records production fee of $25 per hour. We do, get a lot of, those open the books and government, I don't know what you call them, data collection
Public records
entities,
requests?
that are just like, they're not even local, they're like from Florida or something, but they, will call or email and ask for all these records and things, and so, if it's on your fee schedule, you can charge for the time and the material costs. If it's not on your fee schedule, you can't, so I'm suggesting we add that in there with a minimum, 1 hour, charge, so it's $25 at least, depending on the amount of time it takes to produce those records. And, the updates to the garbage rates and the sewer rates were already done by ordinance, so those were just clean up here, I guess, on purposes of the fee schedule to coincide with the adoption of those ordinances. And the big change being proposed here is the cemetery rates. And for ease of comparison, I guess, council member, they gave you this is the current fee schedule, if you will, and track change format that shows the recommendations by the cemetery board. So the last time the cemetery fees were adjusted was in December of 2014. So it's been nearly 9 years since the city has touched this. And the general thinking is that we are probably not at a cost recovery point at this point in time with these fees.
With the new fees, you're still not?
With the old fees,
Oh,
we're not.
yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why we're addressing it.
You're responsible for opening and closing
Right,
the
so
graves, is that what the city's responsibility basically is when you sell the plot?
we sell the plots, yep, and yeah, opening, closing, disinterments, you know, are not happening often, but they do happen on occasion. There was a lot of discussion by the cemetery board. The current fees are all separated by whether you're a resident of the city or a non-resident, and the consensus of the board was to do away with that and just have a flat regardless of where you live or where your address is. So they're suggesting that a grave space now be $400, which is about an increase of 150, or excuse me, 100 or, yeah, 150. The maintenance fee, after 1999, the grave spaces included maintenance, or were supposed to include maintenance, which is basically the mowing and the caretaking and watering. Prior to 1999, they didn't include that in the price of the lots, so when people are buried out there, we have to go back and look and see when the space was purchased and whether or not maintenance has been paid, so unfortunately that is still on our fee schedule. And so the recommendation there is that that would go increase to $200 rather than $100 or $150.
So I'm gonna interrupt you, the only time you collect that is someone comes in and is using an old lot before 99.
And they haven't paid it
And then
already
and then you hit them once for $200.
per space.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have no way of tracking down or billing or doing anything.
So under that theory, then keep in mind that if we're saying it's $200 per space for perpetual maintenance, then your grave space cost is actually $200. I mean, that's basically what we're saying here, to get to the $400 for the grave space currently.
Oh, you're doing away with that maintenance?
Anything after 99, the maintenance should be included in the space fee.
Okay.
So what we're saying is, the price of the real estate is $200, and $200 is your perpetual care, but it's all in one, wrapped up in one fee. But that's what you need to gather out of this.
And do you do many of them that are dated that far back?
Yes,
Really?
quite a lot.
Okay.
Do most of them pay the maintenance fee?
Well, they have to. I mean, they're billed, so, yes.
We don't dig the hole if they don't pay, right?
You don't cover it up if they don't
You only get it
pay.
the one time, Greg.
One time, when they come in, okay, you're not, okay, now I'm with you. Gotcha, I was misunderstanding how people were getting billed for maintenance on a space.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The other, I guess, recommended changes for grave openings and closings. They are recommending an increase of $100 to both traditional and cremation openings for regular weekday business hours. And then for Saturdays or holidays or after hours burials, that would also increase $100.
Not to be morbid, but a cremation isn't, what do they use to, is this just a small hole, right? Or do they have to have something?
Do
I've
most
never,
families do that themselves, or no?
No.
No, on
The city
cremation?
does all of that. It's usually like a 2x2 space.
I see.
Not as deep. Is there a vault?
Yes. Well, there does not have to be a vault, but oftentimes there is.
I didn't know if they used like I was assuming that maybe they used just a post hole digger, you know, because the urns are not that big around, not that large.
I would say the cremations usually are, I think, hand dug, yeah.
Okay.
I think
Just
out
fill them in with gravel.
countryside, I think they use postal, I've been to a couple,
Yeah.
Lutheran cemetery and stuff like that, they just use the postal, deer, the family did. And
Fill 'em
the
up with
cemetery
gravel,
board out there,
wick away
put a
water.
flag where it's supposed to go, and they just did it themselves.
Yeah.
And told them how deep it needs to be.
Yeah, everything in our cemetery has to be done by the city, through the city.
So you're increasing it $100 to what's the total then?
The total for a traditional would go to $450, and a cremation would go to $250.
Was there any discussion on that of, when you guys were met, about a different price for winter months when the
Yes.
ground's frozen and stuff?
There was a lot of talk about that, because honestly, that's where some of our cost recovery is really not
They have to follow
Not
the ground,
working.
they have to
I
follow,
mean,
they have to follow the ground out.
The
and
problem
stuff
with
and
the
propane.
cemetery rates, it makes it really tough because it's really hard to anticipate, you know, you don't know how much time you're gonna spend, you don't know how many you're gonna have to do from one season to the next, or what your cost in that is going to be, because a lot of it's weather related and a lot of other variables, so sometimes the fees are kind of arbitrary in a way, and it's really only when you look back at you know, the past year, 2, 3, whatever, that you kind of decipher whether or not you have cost recovery or if you're just really losing it. But, you know, when you have hellacious winters, it is very expensive for the city to do a burial. So I think the idea, or what we were trying to achieve perhaps, was that you kind of find the middle ground, and it kind of in the long run, hopefully, you know, makes up for itself. So they did discuss the winter months between November and April. Maybe, I think the wording from the cemetery board was subject to an additional cost. Personally, I didn't like leaving that open-ended like that for the sake of that. I think when you're communicating with a family, you need to be able to tell them what the cost is going to be upfront. So I am recommending that it's just an additional $100 if the thaw
If
is
you have to call.
needed.
Yeah.
If it's not needed, we would not assess that. And I think that's fair and upfront, and in a year or so from now, if we look back at that and say that's not a good thing, then we can amend it.
I was just kind of curious where you came up with that, and what the discussion might have been.
Yeah,
Come up
so
with that,
that's,
stuff like that.
we did talk about that, and we talked about whether we wanted to just kind of include it in the fee itself and not mess with this additional fee, but then, you know, if you don't have a lot of winter burials, and that seems maybe kind of excessive, you know, on the summer burial. So that's, I guess, what's being recommended here.
Okay.
The other thing that they talked about was no Sunday burials.
I see you struck that.
We talked about, we're seeing that more and more, Sundays and holidays. And again, some of the concern from that was, you know, it takes 2 to 3 city employees, especially if it's a traditional burial. So if it's a weekend or even a 3-day holiday type weekend, those people are tied here for the weekend. Plus it's overtime or holiday pay at a minimum. The city's policy is 2 hours OT mandatory on callback. So, you know, you've got 2 or 3 people that you're mandatory OT on, you know, and it's just, I think the idea was Saturdays should be sufficient. And,
I thought Jim said he didn't do one anyway,
well,
Sundays.
yeah, Jim does.
Do you do holidays?
We've got one coming up this Sunday, I believe, is there is an interment this
There's,
Sunday.
well, and keep in mind that cremations by state law do not require a funeral director. So we're seeing more and more just family services where Jim or a funeral director is not involved in the planning. And so I guess that's another need for the policy from the city, so that when we work directly with the family, we can say no Sunday burial, we'll do it on Saturday or, you know, after hours if need be, but.
Lisa, do you really think it's necessary to do it on holidays, or why did you strike that as well? You know, like 4th of July, Memorial Day, or whatever you.
My personal feeling is I agree with that, but that wasn't necessarily the recommendation of the cemetery board. So, I mean, if the council feels so inclined, I don't think you're gonna find an argument from the city employees if you don't want to do holiday burials. But, you know, we try to be accommodating within reason, because we know that that's a tough time for everybody, so. And then disinterments, we talked quite a bit about that. That really needs to happen during business hours, no weekends, no after hours, because there's so many variables, things that can go wrong, things that can be attended to. So that would be an additional policy, and then, the price tag for that, I guess they are recommending $500 for an adult traditional burial, $250 additional if city equipment is used. We'd like to encourage, companies to bring a lift in of their own. And then a cremation infant would be $250 flat fee.
In a year, how many of those do you get?
Disinterments, maybe one,
Okay.
less than that if we're lucky. It's not
I
something
just
that
couldn't believe
everybody
you
is.
never got the request.
So I don't know what the thoughts of the council are, but that's, I think the thinking here, at least what I took away from the cemetery board, was that maybe this is a good place to start in a year or so, maybe kind of circle back and look at it and see if it's still.
Yeah, they said that a few times, so I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awful cheap, you know, I wouldn't drag my equipment out there.
When I kind of first got on the council, I kind of studied this a little bit and thought we were very cheap. I checked with Jim Hoke, and he had prices from surrounding cemeteries and stuff like that, or cities, and we were definitely the cheapest around. And, you know, I made mention that we probably need to raise them sometimes, so I'm glad we're finally doing this. So I guess I would make a motion as, resolution, to approve resolution 23-07, amending the City of Ainsworth fee schedule.
A second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion?
So you are striking Sunday and holiday burials with this amendment?
Sundays. Just Sundays.
Just Sundays, not holidays, okay.
Any other discussion? You want to call the roll?
Brett,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item is a discussion of ordinance regarding signs, and Dan requested to be on the agenda for that.
It's my interpretation of the code, I'm not sure if I'm accurate, but that all signs on sidewalks are prohibited in Ainsworth. They're starting to proliferate a little bit more on Main Street. Some of them are kind of getting political. If my interpretation is correct, I'd like to either see the law enforced or the law changed. I don't know if my interpretation is correct, though.
Yeah, I don't know that all are prohibited, I mean,
Certainly somebody I have to ask.
there are, I mean, I imagine you read through the ordinance.
I read the ordinance, that's my interpretation. All signs in all districts. No sign
Shall
posts,
conform
awning
to the
posts.
following requirements, it says.
Pardon me?
It says all signs in all districts shall conform to the following requirements.
Subsection H, no sign, post, awning post, billboard advertisement, or mercantile display shall be permitted upon any street or sidewalk.
So you're seeing signs that are,
They're starting to get political on Main Street. If you want to allow it, that's fine. All I'm asking is, first of all, if my interpretation is correct. If it is correct, you can either change the law or start enforcing it. Unless you're going to tell me my interpretation is incorrect.
I think H just pretty much tells you where it needs to be. Is that, am I not reading that?
well, yeah, it says it can't be on the street or sidewalk, and I guess, I thought they were, yeah, I would think the sheriff's department is enforcing that. I'm not sure what's out there that isn't, I mean, I'd have to go look. What, is there something out there now, or is there?
I don't know if it's out there today. I mean, I would guess today the pharmacy would have had a sign out in front. I don't have an issue with the pharmacy having a sign in front. You're gonna decide how you wanna interpret it. But when you get, let's go Brandon signs hanging on Main Street, that kind of crosses the line to me. Whether it crosses the line to you or not, that's up to you.
Well, my understanding is that, that was removed when it was requested to be removed.
It was removed a lot later when the store closed. Whether it comes back up or not, I do not know. But it was removed when the store was closed. Whether it goes, like I said, I don't know if it'll go back up at a later date or not.
Yeah, well, I think we'd probably request them to remove it again if it went back up. And I know we kind of discussed that when we passed that ordinance, because it's a little tough, you know, there's certain things like the Elks or the Legion will put out a thing about bingo, and so you hate to prohibit those, but I guess technically, unless you consider them temporary, not permanent, maybe we need to revisit that and tighten up the language a little. Is that what you're?
I'm okay either way, but right now, as I read the code, it's against the law, period. All the signs on Main Street. And there's going to be a number of them up there. And I understand it, I don't have an issue with most of them. But there's some that I do have an issue with. And right now, you're crossing the line by allowing any sign on.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying. I guess we can talk to the sheriff about it.
So you had an issue with that one because it was political?
Yeah. All the signs, by code, all the signs there are illegal, by code. Unless you're telling me I read that code inaccurately, and I don't think I am. And so you're going to decide if you're going to bend the law, change the law, or enforce the law. And I don't know how you're going to, because there are a number of organizations that place signs up there. How do you define which ones are acceptable and which ones are unacceptable? And I don't know how you're going to do that.
I mean, personally, I don't want to rain on the parade of the Legion or the Elks or somebody having a bake sale.
I
in a
understand.
small town.
I like the banks doing their customer appreciation events, you know, where they put the tents and the, you know,
I think that's just
technically
promote
they're
business to our community.
on the, it's a display on the sign.
So listen, I mean, if it's portable, it's not constructed, where there's something they take down every night, does that not throw it? I don't wanna say throw it out, but does it apply to this? This is, I mean, it's not constructed, it's not fastened on any post on a, or building. Then we get city attorney question.
I don't know how this factors in, but to put a sign up on Main Street for your business, you have to go through Department of Transportation. So I don't, you know, that's if you're affixing something to the business within that whatever corridor for the state highway system. We've had to go through Department of Transportation a couple times just to put an affixed business sign.
Right, so to me, that's how.
But these are more, I mean, I think the ones Dan are talking about, it's more a flag or something like that that gets put up when they're there and taken down when they're gone.
Right, like it's there and it's gone, and like, so, that's my question is it matter if it's a permanent or a temporary?
I just know for a permanent one, I don't know about temporary, for
I
a
know, like,
permanent one, you've gotta go through DOT.
Yeah, like a permanent one you do,
But I don't know for a temporary one.
Temporary one, if this applies to a temporary one, that'd be like a city attorney question, I think, because like the Elks, the Legion, every bake sale, like Kim was saying.
Are we just talking Main Street or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, people put, you know, random, like, garage sales,
Yeah.
junk number, whatever's this way, you're saying we can't put that up now?
And maybe I'm thinking of this all wrong now. We put our different events and stuff in front of the fire hall, we put our American flag up. You know, that's, some people, that's political and stuff anymore. So is that we going, how far are we going with this?
Well, that's what I'm saying, like they said, tell me the difference between something like that and a permanent sign.
Yeah.
Is this more of like permanent, like you're saying, hey, I can't put a something in front of my, sign on my building without the state and this approval. Versus I'm gonna put up a, hey, we got bingo tonight, and I'm gonna take it down in a couple hours. So I don't know how that, where that, all or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we may have to take a look at the ordinance and decide if we want to update the wording to,
Permanent or temporary signage?
yeah, I'm sure we can figure out how to, well, we can try to figure out how to word it so
'Cause,
that
you know,
somebody won't.
It's gonna be really tough to word that because,
Yeah, I'd hate
you know,
to,
free speech,
yeah, I'd hate to tell everybody, hey, you can't post you're having a garage sale or a junk number, whatever's this way.
on a little folding sign.
And a
or-
little folding, or hey, graduation reception this way, you're gonna tell everybody you can't put that up now. Like, I'm not touching that.
With a, the balloon hanging off of the
Yeah.
pole and stuff like that, like they have, we just hope they do go back, and sometimes they don't, after the garage sale's over, it's just left there and the balloon's hanging down 3 days later. You always hope, but yeah, that's a tough one, and
Could it be amended to state, nothing permanent? Or
Potentially, I think we should. I guess what I'm gonna suggest, Dan, is that we don't, we can ask the sheriff to enforce the ordinance the way it is. If you see something, you can report it, and to the sheriff, and, we will, I think we would need to take a look at the wording and maybe adjust that going forward. Obviously, we're not gonna do that tonight.
I'm just saying.
Okay, that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, well, appreciate your input then. I think, yeah, it probably needs to be fixed. Moving on, let's consider recommendation of the LBA 40 Loan Committee to approve facade application number 23-06 in the amount of up to $10,000.
Sure, this is a kind of your typical facade application. It's a business on Main Street. Willow Creek Mercantile is the name. They're gonna do some exterior paint and awnings. It will be a good improvement for the downtown area.
New business in
New
our
business.
building.
And
Did you
and
have
a
anything
big
on here
improvement.
for that?
We don't include the actual application in the packet, but you can come into my office and look at it.
That third Main.
You tell me what the business is, or that's hush hush, I'm slow.
No, the name of the business is public information. Willow Creek Mercantile
Selling.
is a new business
Nice.
That's good.
in a vacant building, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Fix it up.
Anybody have anything they want to share about it, or?
Something there, yeah.
And then it meets all the requirements?
Loan
obviously.
committee met a week ago and reviewed it, and yep, I think it's,
Permits,
all the
everything's
permits are approved, and so.
They haven't started reading it.
good.
Not yet, no.
It's not done, right?
It's not done. Perfect.
No.
That building, I mean, it's been vacant for years since I've been here, so it's exciting to see something there, I guess.
It
Yeah.
is exciting.
it's actually pretty awesome looking building.
I will move that we approve, application 2306, the amount of $10,000 from the LBA 40 committee for this.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Call roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
I asked Kristen roughly, what's that leave in your LBA 40 fund if somebody walked in today and wanted to?
I didn't even bring that. Lisa.
There's a couple $100,000
Yeah.
more still in there, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
there's
curious.
43,000, you can look at your treasurer's report.
In the treasurer's report.
Okay.
It's in the consent packet, and there's 43,000.
You're buying me an iPad next week, just so you know.
It's not in the budget.
I don't care.
They're expensive.
It's coming out.
So that,
You could put that in the paper.
the cash balance, as of the end of August was $176,011.45.
Okay.
And of that, there's about $43,000 in change that's earmarked and not drawn down. That was approved prior. Because they have a year, they have 12 months to complete their project and draw down. So that would leave, what, 133,000
Yeah,
roughly.
thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider a letter received from Sheriff Diver. I think you're probably all aware that we received notice in a roundabout way. But he actually did end up bringing a letter into the office saying that he will no longer open the community center and lock it at night and deal with the cemetery gates. So I guess that came as a bit of a surprise, given our negotiations. He says that it is not in the contract, and that's true, that's not specifically in the contract. I'll tell you that during those negotiations, we talked about having specific language in there, and everybody felt that would be burdensome, that we wanted to leave it flexible because law enforcement can be very busy at times and not very busy at other times, and so we wanted to allow the sheriff the flexibility to utilize his people efficiently. So we didn't have specifics in the contract. However, we do have some language that suggests such service shall include such duties and functions as are normally performed and are provided by the sheriff under the charter, etc. I'd say that since that duty has been performed by the sheriff's office for the past, how old is this building?
22 years.
Probably for the last 22 years, I'm not sure about
Probably
that.
the cemetery even longer than that.
I think that's duties and functions that are normally performed. Services under the contract shall include but not be limited to enforcement of state statutes. I think that's fairly open-ended. But at this point, probably there is an item 5 in the contract that sets up a committee composed of the mayor, president of the council, see, you didn't know what you signed up for, Dustin, or their designee, city administrator, chairman of the county board, or their designee, and the Brown County Sheriff shall review disputes that may arise under this contract regarding standards of service. I think this issue falls under that, and so I've told Lisa we need to call a committee meeting. I mean, we've never had to call one before, but we'll call a committee meeting, we'll have a discussion about it, and we'll see where that leads. I'll leave it at that. And that'll be our first step in this negotiation. Unless you guys have any other instructions you want to propose.
So how are you getting it closed now? The cemetery?
Well, he's doing it till the end of the month.
Well, to the end of the
I think
month.
it's the 30th of this month.
Okay.
After that, then.
Yeah, I guess we got 2 weeks notice or whatever. It's a little disappointing. I mean, there's guys like Brian Belmont that
Volunteer.
on their own time volunteer to help with those sorts of things. And there's other community members that
The only
volunteer.
thing that's concerning in the evening time is when you're closing it, don't we have some squatters?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to put city employees in danger,
Right.
having to walk through the building in the evening and turn off the lights and lock the doors, and might be somebody sitting around the corner waiting for them. I don't think that's a safe. I think it's more of a job of a law enforcement officer that has that type of training and stuff to do that job.
I agree. I mean, because you can sit up here in this hallway right here, going up that stairwell, and you can sit in there and squat and wait till they're closed, and then they're in here, or like you said, I mean, it's just, that's a safety hazard at night. I mean, it's no big deal for me in the morning, cause I pass through here and open it on the way to the
Yeah,
school.
and it's
Thank
locked
you.
at that point.
It's
so-
usually locked, I mean, there's sometimes we run into it and it's open, just cause I'm sure they got busy and didn't have time to close it, but I would say majority of the time it is locked when I get here in the morning, so.
You know, the point is, we have community members, yourself and others, that help with those sorts of things, help build the community, and so, to me, it's disappointing, but I guess that's all I'll say about that.
I think on a public safety standpoint, that, you know, we want the sheriff to make sure that, you know, everybody's cleared out in the evenings for this water and this, the safety aspect.
That's what I'd say, I would agree with Brad on that, just because of the, I mean, we shouldn't be putting the city employee in it. I mean, granted, my daughter's probably one of them that's here till 10 o'clock sometimes, but.
After everything we've been through, this is so, so like counterproductive and discouraging to have to worry to deal with this now.
But that'd be the thing, I mean, you're on it, but that'd be the thing I would suggest is a safety thing at night. You know, just kept running through the facility one time to make sure nobody's here.
Yeah, we'll certainly bring that up at the meeting. Like I say, I don't know where that'll go, but that's the first step, so that's what we'll do first. Unless anybody has a different suggestions.
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, because if they're absolutely not, I feel that we're gonna have to find somebody that's maybe more trained or more, I don't want these, or anybody going in there and getting hurt, injured, or having to deal with somebody.
We'd still call the sheriff's office if there was an issue anyway.
That's right. If you find somebody in the hallway and they won't leave, you're probably gonna call them
If you found
upstairs.
somebody in the hallway in the dark, you wouldn't be able to call the sheriff's office, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what if we're dangerous?
You'd
Like-
have to call the ambulance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when
Heart
Brian
attack.
found you the next morning,
Right.
he would obviously call the ambulance, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but if there's somebody that's gonna do harm or
I'm here,
whatever.
Brad, bring the ambulance, I'm here.
You know, that or you just start closing at 5 o'clock when you go home.
That
Yeah, just
defeats
kinda
the purpose of why we have
When
this.
it's not a public
Such a
building.
shame, you know,
Right.
so many people come up here and use it.
Yeah, a lot of people use it in the evenings, a lot of
See,
people
just
use
the-
it on the weekends.
But
Holidays.
from the safety standpoint, considering that, the only way if something can't be arranged is to lock it at 5 o'clock.
Or to put some kind of keyed code or some, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, I know, I get
Makes the
it.
city more money, have memberships.
Yeah, memberships to the.
They get a club.
I bet that would go over really well.
If you have a time lock, what was maybe suggested, time lock.
But you're locking somebody in,
You're
they're
locking
in to
somebody
do
in,
whatever
they
they
do a lot of
want.
damage in
Well,
here,
that
stuff
doesn't
like
do
that.
anything for the cemetery gates.
The
It's
fact
incredibly
of
disappointing.
having the sheriff come in, or whoever come in the evening and lock it up, the cemetery and this, I think deters a lot of potential vandalism.
Yeah.
We
you
have
know.
some nefarious activity out there from time to time.
But we do have cameras.
You know, and in the locker rooms especially, because people know there's no cameras, you know, and in those areas, you know, you can't have cameras in those areas, so. You know, people, if they wanna be doing things they shouldn't be doing, that's the first place they go. And we kick a lot of people out even during the day, just by watching the North Hall and knowing, you know, these people.
I think you're gonna see a lot more problems if the sheriff's not locking them at night. My personal opinion.
Rod, I want to thank you for speaking up and having them approach the council about this
You're
situation.
welcome. It just seemed a little strange. Why do they, the other cemetery, and that was brought up and I didn't report on that, but I call it the East Cemetery is not locked, but the south one is. What's the differentiation between the two?
Kinsey keeps an eye on it.
Ah,
Is that it? My defense, I did have to leave the commissioner meeting to go to junior high football right before this
Yeah.
discussion happened, so Rod was nice enough to share notes with me to include, so.
I think that locking that one, because this one has so much traffic that goes by, You seldom see anybody in there.
We've had a lot of vandalism
It worked
outside.
out
Has there been?
Yeah,
I just know forever they've been locking, it always comes over the scan, you know, when there were scanners that worked, it always came over, you know, that they had just locked up the cemetery and the south towers were lit or something like that, and, but, no, the scanners don't work anymore, you don't pay attention.